So Vinnie was my first ex-gang member that I had ever worked on. I mean, his story is one that I wanted to have him come here and tell.
You can't even hesitate. But he owes money for drugs and you need to go collect it, and if he doesn't pay, you're gonna have to stab him. They've said that to somebody and they said you have to go and do this, and that person hesitated and didn't say that right away that they could do it, and then they're beating you. My name is Vincent Paul Lillie.
Right now, if I didn't have neck tattoos or hand tattoos, like, I look legit.
For my kids to be more proud to look up to me, right?
We're all born originals, but a lot of us die copies, right?
I do tattoo removal usually 2 nights a week after working my regular job. My name is Della and I'm the redemption artist.
Hey Vinnie, ready to go, bro?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Minus 25 tonight. So I figure we'll go up this side of Maine, probably to Higgins, and we'll see what's going on around the Thunderbird house. And
awesome. You're gonna go check out the parking lot when we come back?
yeah, I'd like to do that.
So this patch represents the OPK organization, which is an Ojibwe-based organization. The OPK stands for Ogijita Pinamastwin Kinamatwin, which is Ojibwe, which means a young warrior moving forward into a good life. This patch here represents the 204, Community 204, which is another organization that does a lot of volunteering in the community. Basically what happens with when you get the patches for the OPK is that you have to do a certain amount of volunteering before you can get patches for a vest. Well, it doesn't have to go on a vest, it can go on a sweater, or it can go on whatever it is that you choose. It's like removing an insecurity for someone. It keeps you attached and keeps you stuck in that, because it's a constant reminder every time you see it, right? About what you did and what you went through and all that stuff, right? So when it's gone, then it's just like closing that chapter in your life, right? I used to have a tattoo on my face here, and I was always very self-conscious about it, because I was like, and I don't know if I was just projecting this on other people, but I noticed that people would look at me and treat me differently because I had a face tattoo, and like obviously back when I had it, it wasn't very common. This doesn't feel good, but I mean, it's just good that it was, with it being on the face, obviously I think that was probably even worse of a place to get it done, because especially like so close to the eye, but I think it was a good part is that it was really small, so it didn't ever take very long for her to do it. Basically like 20 zaps, right? So I would go in there and I'd lay down on the bed. I'd probably be there for like a minute or two, and then I think I would have to wait like 3 or 4 weeks to come back again to get it done again. But it literally took 12 sessions to get rid of it. Okay.
Check in around the Thunderbird house.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some people we're going to run into that are going to be needing some help.
Yeah, even in and around the construction of the village and the public washroom.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of nooks and crannies in there.
Yeah.
Like basically, like let's just keep people alive.
Yeah.
You see anybody prone, anybody down, you got to check on them, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody dies this winter.
No.
Anybody home? Hello?
Anybody there?
No one there, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I can remember my childhood being very challenging. I also was diagnosed with hemophilia when I was born. Like I always felt like kind of like the boy in the bubble, or like everybody was always told to be careful with me. And I started getting into fights with kids because of that. And so I ended up developing a reputation for being a fighter. My dad actually left the family when I was about 3 or 4. He got convicted of sexually abusing my 2 oldest brothers. My mom needed to support 4 boys financially, right? And so that was pretty tough for her. Then when I got to junior high, my decline and involvement with crime started. They put me in this little room, this little classroom outside of the school. Was called the Hut. It was for like the bad kids. So I ended up just dropping out. This is where we actually met up with this gang called the Local Boys. They were giving me that thing that I was lacking, which is like, some guidance or some, feeling like a sense of belonging. When I became an adult and I started to learn to rob stores to get money to pay for my drug habit. Those are the ones I think that stand out the most for me, because I would just wear a mask and have a knife, and that was usually what I would do. I think there's a lot of fear, right? Obviously, because I didn't know what was going to transpire, and you don't want to get caught, and you almost need that weapon to just kind of get that leverage on the person in order to get what you want. So got further into the drug addiction, and just I would be high when I would go and do it, and so that would basically make it a lot easier for me to do it. I think when I was 17, I got into a high-speed chase. I think that was probably one of the most intense ones for me as a youth. Is I crashed into a house, and the police obviously ended up just like a whole bunch of them just tackling me down when I was running in.
This part's gonna hurt.
Think so?
A little bit, yeah. It's more tender here than what you're used to when I zapped your face.
Yeah.
Right in here, because the skin is so thin that it's gonna hurt more. Not bad though.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as if it's like right on the bone. If it's right on the bone.
I think going to the Manitoba Youth Center when I was a youth, it stands out for me a lot. When you get arrested and you go to jail, you go to the Manitoba Youth Center, you're not prepared for it. When they bring you in this room and then they say that you have to take your clothes off. This is a very traumatic experience for me. Well, for anybody that would have to go through that. As many times as I went to jail, that never got old. I did time in pretty much Winnipeg Remand Center, Headingley, Milner, Brandon. It wasn't until I actually went into prison that I ended up getting more involved with gangs. I did a string of robberies on the same 7-Eleven. It was Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. The police ended up catching me the last time at the scene of the actual store. It was in the paper, and they said it was the third time's a charm, and they caught me, and they're just saying, who it was and what they did. And then, so I ended up getting arrested, and I went to the remand center, and I ended up getting, just over 2 years. And so that was when I went to prison the first time. That's the part that's probably the scariest of it all, is they know it's your first time, right? And so the guys would tell stories to you about what's going to happen to you when you go to prison, about how you're going to get raped there, and you're going to get beat up, and all this crazy stuff that's going to happen to you when you get there, right? And so, I'm 21 years old, and when I rolled up to that gate at Stony Mountain, and I was shitting my pants. The reason why I joined the gang was because I was scared, right? You go into prison and you want to be protected, right? And that's what they say. That's part of their thing, that they'll be there to respect you, they'll protect you, and to love you and all that, right? And so ultimately what I did was I joined because I was afraid. When you were a striker in the gang and you first came in, the strikers are the ones responsible for looking out for the full patch members. And so basically you have to be on your toes at all times. You have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you have to be up and awake and aware and watching, and so be on your toes is what they'd always say to you, right? And so that's what you're taught to do, is always be on your toes and always be aware of what happens. And so the truth of the matter is that your traumas that you went through, they're the gateway. That's the thing that gets you involved in doing the drugs, right? Because you're basically trying to mask. You don't want to feel, and you don't want to remember the things that you went through, right? So that's what happens, is that you end up getting yourself involved in doing the drugs, because you learn that they actually help you suppress it. I don't have to worry about thinking about the things that I've done or the sexual abuse that I've been through. You just get high, right? It goes away. When you get to a certain part of a certain amount of sobriety, you basically, all your emotions come flooding back at once, and these emotions that you never had to deal with for the longest period of time are now there, looking you dead in the eye, and it's tough. That's what happens with our men, that we're taught that we can't express ourselves, and that's what we do. We try to pretend like we're tough all the time, right? And so I think a part of being in this world is trying to get closer to who you truly are as a person, right? And a lot of us, we're all born originals, but a lot of us die copies, right?